Today we'll be talking about my story, and I'll be asking some follow-up questions. And first, I want to get in touch with my story. Uh, One day, I was asleep. I was sleeping at my girlfriend's house. I got a phone call. It was about, say, 1 or 2 in the morning. And my family member had called me. He had told me that something really bad had happened. We got into a little freak accident. He told me to come up there immediately. So I came to his house, and I saw him on the floor. When I saw him on the floor, I had to pick him up. I had to put him in my car. We had to ride off to the hospital. And I literally drove as fast as I can because I was literally watching my family member die in front of my face. And it was just so crazy that I was literally just watching something so real happen in front of my eyes. But me driving down the highway, almost breaking my car, almost blowing my engine out. 301, going to Southern Maryland. I get to Southern Maryland, and I check my family member in, and I'm just in such shock, not really knowing what's going on. I'm shaking really bad. I can't really talk. Had a mean headache, and I just really couldn't figure out what was going on. But when I got up there, they had called up the police up there, and I knew they was coming. So I was basically just trying to mentally prepare myself for what they were going to bring, how they were going to talk to me, how they were going to try to treat me. So yeah, when they came, what, two officers, it was two cars beat. Two of them got out of the car, and they were basically asking me general questions. What's going on? Before that, though, they actually took my phone, they took my keys, and my ID, my wallet, and they were basically trying to figure out what was going on. They wanted me to explain a story to them. They wanted me to basically give them answers to their questions, and some of the answers I didn't have. And it really kind of put me at a halt for when they were talking to me and trying to get answers out of me that I didn't know. And I'm such in shock and not being able to talk and being in such state that I wasn't able to function for real. I was literally on the ground shaking. And I don't remember the officer's name. It wasn't this officer right here. I didn't see him up there. But they were being kind of rude to me. I wasn't able to answer their questions like how they wanted me to. But I really couldn't respond. They were trying to figure out all these different things at once. And I'm just sitting here trying to get myself together. And I basically wanted to bridge the gap with a little bit of clarity on how some things should go when they talk to young black folks that might be, that don't know what's going on, or, that might not be involved in such and such, or things that they're trying to label people as. So, yeah, that was my story.
I can see just when you're speaking the anxiety that you felt when you had to come pick up a loved one. When you respond to the hospital, you're very confused and emotional because you're not trained and you don't know anything, especially when it's not a day-to-day situation where you go pick up family members and taking care of an ill one. When you got to the hospital should have said, well, once they spoke to you, sit down and calm you, but I can't tell what the hospital was done. To speak upon what the two officers come, normally two officers do respond to any scene because they just, we travel in pairs because we never know what we're dealing with. That's just a safety matter on both sides for you and for us. When they got out, questioned you, took your keys and IDs, that is a question. I can't tell you exactly why they did it. What we're training as all police agencies, because I just came from training today, but we're looking to have more, compassion and sympathy when we're dealing with black males, because that's what we have in this area. It comes back to training. When the officers, and I can only say for what you explained to me, I probably would have came up to you because I look at you as, okay, there's an incident. Regardless of what it might have been, I would say, sit down, young man. Take a breath. Let's get him some water. Compose yourself. And that comes back from years of training versus probably the officers who are younger, am I correct? So when you have younger officers in their 20s, early 30s, they're not, equipped with dealing with young people or just people in adverse situations. Anxiety and emotions take the best of us, even with us as officers. And I'm not saying that they were right, because I weren't there, I'm not going to say they were wrong, but I'll give you this food for thought. And if prayerfully you don't come into contact for anyone, if they do, when it comes to that, officer, give me a moment to compose myself. Because you need to be treated like a man, a respectful human being. Officer, can you please give me a moment? I have something going on. These are options I'm going to equip you with. It's going to be hard to remember, but now it's embedded for everyone else out there. If the officer doesn't give you that respect in that manner, say, officer, you know what, I don't want to say anything, call a supervisor to the scene. Because sometimes when seasoned officers come, they can interact with you better. This way gives you some balance and time to get yourself together, compose. But back again, it comes to training from police departments to give officers how to deal with anyone in an emotional heightened state. Another thing that a lot of police departments want to include in our agency is going out to the community centers, to the schools, to talk to young black males. It's not only about an officer, I'm a father. I'm a father, I'm home. So I know that with young black people can be very challenging for both sides because the perception that we have as young people or black people when we're younger of police is different. I grew up in the 80s, late 70s, 80s. There was no interaction with a lot of black police officers. You saw the police, it was one way and that was it. So that being said, when I decided to become the police, I knew I was going to take a different role. Every black person is not a criminal. Every young black person is not saying they're not educated. Every young black person is not using drugs. But it's up to us as parents and as police officers to educate you. So I'm taking that one step further than a lot of other officers are to educate you. But moreover, for young black people, grab your composure, learn what emotions are and anxieties, learn how to articulate, read a book, read what the traffic laws are, read what the criminal laws are. Not only do you look at YouTube, but look at other absolute YouTubes where there's, direct conversation, meaningful conversations, but it's conversation where it's on a level eye to eye, person to person. We do have things that we have to ask, but also a former investigator, I know that this can be me, and this can be you. So I treat people the exact same way I want to. Same thing with officers. When young black people come in contact with officers, the unfortunate part, you all have been stereotyped on social media. You think every young black male is smoking marijuana. You think everybody, young black male, doesn't go to school. You think they all hitting on the corner and don't know how to read a book. You think they all in a movie trying to make rap songs. We have young black people that are trying to become bankers, lawyers, judges, real estate agents, FBI agents, teachers, priests. But guess what? America sometimes doesn't visualize us that way. So these two officers, back to that, let me ask you this, were they black or white officers?
I believe it was white.
Therefore, let's go to another level. Sometimes we think because officers are white that they're racist. And sometimes we think that black officers are black, they understand this. It doesn't always come that way. Some black officers are raised in different counties, not, knowing what our people are like because they weren't raised around other black people. You have some white officers that were raised around black people, live in Suitland, live in Boone. Some live in D.C., and they come here and sometimes they have a more equipped understanding because they don't look at you as black. Sometimes, how many white people we know that we don't look at color? Many. It's a lot, but I got one better for you. America is preparing itself for this integration that we've been doing for years, but now it's on TV. White women dating black men dating white women. And it's both sides. Now we have to learn how to work with each other. But back to your situation. And in the future, anytime you get an officer that's a little aggressive, moving forward, especially if you're not being detained for a crime in your situation, say, hold on, I don't want to talk, let me get myself together. You're a man, you're an adult. We should treat you as such. You tell an officer, if you're not going to speak to me the way I want to be spoken to, then I won't speak to you at all. That's your rights. Now, if they're questioning you about a crime, an incident that requires your immediate attention of a person lying dead on the floor, then that's what it is. But always ask for a supervisor. If you're never satisfied on the scene, always request a supervisor. 9 times out of 10, the supervisor that comes will be able to kind of de-escalate and give you that respect you need.
My first question, how can African Americans prevent wrongful actions with the police?
Wrongful actions to the police, how can we teach you young black folks, just like we had a discussion on the side about, we'll share with them I grew up in this area. I grew up in Prince George's County, DC area, played in the go-go bands. So this is my native scene, jumping on combos and drums. The problem is when we arrived as black people, we didn't educate you all. So how can young African Americans do better when interacting with the police? It's time to make sure that when you talk to police officers, talk to them as adults, speak as an adult. Don't speak with a lot of slang. Making sure that we understand, be articulate. If you feel disrespected, carry yourself and tell the person that. Officer, you don't need to do that. That doesn't require that. Use your words. Ask their names. Hey, what are you pulling me over for? Why are you having this discussion with me? What is your name and ID? That's not a requirement. But also, sometimes instead of just an adverse situation, say hello to the officer. Just like you, and every young person, we want to respect us as well because we're in uniform. You know, most of the time people come past me and bug me. They curse me out, give me some unfriendly hand gestures. But then I have a lot more people that come up and say, Officer, I'm going to treat you to lunch. Officer, I want to make sure that this is taken care of. Officer, we appreciate your job. So it goes both ways, but for young black people, we have to start encouraging you all to be able to articulate when you feel disrespected. But we also have to articulate you all to be kind. Because if you're not kind to others, just like your boys on the street, you know, you got to respect them, right? Do the same thing with us. An officer in uniform, respect them. Make sure you earn respect and demand it as well, too. You know, if you're in a scene, if it's two black males at 7-Eleven, then sometimes people kind of look at you, or, you know, look at you oddly. Say, hey, how you doing, officer? Take the first step as a leader. Be a leader. African Americans need to be leaders in their own community. This is your community, right? Step 4. Here at Park Police, we have community centers, which we have mentoring programs on the weekend, extreme team programs, male mentoring programs. We teach people. We have a Guys Save Life program where we take young males and we have lady lifesavers to teach them to be lifeguards. So we teach them how to be adults, teach them how to swim, how to articulate, how to apply application, and then teach them how to go out in the city and work into the lifeguard system with Park Police. So hopefully that gives you some tools in your toolbox as you mature into your age more, how to interact with not only the police, but everyone else as well. Another thing is go to community meetings. Community meetings is not just for old folks. One day you're going to be a homeowner, or one day all y'all are going to be homeowners. You know, we go to the community meetings, ask questions. Officer, how you doing? What's your name again? The same questions you impose on me, ask them at your community meeting. You all, just because you're at a young age doesn't mean that you're not a part of the community. All of y'all are our future. And this is our investments.
Question number 2. Police brutality is real. So what do you think about it, and what do you think needs to happen moving forward?
Police brutality is real. Like I said, I came up in the 70s and 80s, so it's a different scene. Police brutality, what we can do is, first of all, and I'll start from the community side, be active, ask questions, go to community meetings, you know, educate yourself what the laws are. You know, it's not about just walking by saying hands up. Know what your rights are. You know, we have things right in the official library. This is my favorite one I like for using young people. Use a smartphone and don't use your brain to be dumb. Use a smartphone to find out information on the scene. Even though I know what I'm saying, sometimes I be very cautious because the officer says, put your phone down. Put your phone down. But then this is when you have in your mind, you practice with your friends. Hey, also, what are you stopping for? What's going on? You know, these are the questions you ask. Hey, what's your badge number? You don't have to be aggressive because guess what? You always have witnesses around. But also don't agitate them as well because sometimes people may agitate us just as well as when they agitate you. But what intimidates a person on both sides, from your side and the police side, is that when someone's articulate and smart, can quote the law, it changes their progress. I'll give you an example. I love seeing young people go well, they go in the store and not acting crazy and calling out each other names. Because we know all private talk, we all talk stuff and do our thing. Adults do the same thing, young people do the same thing. So normally I compliment people, young people in the store, they're doing well. But, you know, question the officer, hey, what are you doing? You know, ask when you go in the store, say hello to me. I brought them in. So when you see police brutality, let's say we get to a scene, this guy is, you don't know what the call is for, but it's a guy that's doing something negative, may have a weapon. And you know, people get calls that you may know something on the scene, somebody may call, we get there, we're dealing with this guy, let the police stand back to do what you do. Let the police, you know, continue to do what they're doing. But if you see something that's not right, you know, I'm not saying record it, because for Park Police, we have body cams. But if you see something, people have been recorded, call the department, say you didn't like what you see because you want these officers that are protecting you to do the right thing. in order for us to stop police brutality, I know in my eyes as a police officer, this body camera has been 100% great. I activate mine every time I'm involved with someone. That's one step the police department is doing. Secondly, I know our internal affairs and other agencies are going out to educate the public. Hey, you do have a right. We're not saying just to complain on the police officer, but know what they're doing and why they're doing it. If you're actively involved in our community, the police is not going to harass you. They're not going to harass you because that's what they do. You have more at stake to make sure we do our job. Because don't forget, we work for you all, protect and serve. And I'm not saying, just to give you a spiel like I'm running for president. You all have to be involved. Young people must be involved. Please take an active role. Know what's going on. And just like this, what you say, I had an incident not too long ago when a young lady, 13-year-old little girl, was acting a fool. Her girlfriends told her to stop. Her aunts and them told her to stop acting crazy. You see, and the reason why, because I had this body cam on, I continuously gave her verbal corrections. So, police brutality, I don't believe in it. I don't stand for it. If I see it happens, you better believe I'm standing up for it. Because guess what? Once again, I live in this community. So when I go home and take off this uniform, I'm out here, obviously, I'm picking up the favorite snippet of the cookies. But when I'm over here and I'm on a Crystal Skates, or what they call skate palace now, the skate, if I'm up over there at Magic Johnson Theater, or my favorite Chick-fil-A, this is my community, man. When I'm off, I'm here. So I watch and I do report. But I'm not here to report the snitching office. Now I'm snitching. Do your job right. Because guess what? We pay you money to do this. And this is what maybe you may be my nephew, my niece is over here, it could have been my niece. I want to make sure they're treated fairly. But make no mistake, if you carry a gun, a knife, or a weapon, because we have active shooters, active stabbers, we're going to do our job. We're going to do our job fairly and by the book. So just the biggest thing back to what I'm saying, learn what the laws are. Just something for yourself and the other people here. We have civilian police academies. Look at joining. Look at being a part. We'll teach you everything that you need to know. You can come out here and help us as well.
Did I see you Temple?
Right after you came from it? And you see me there walk around? Yeah, I'm offset, but
For team night.
team it. Yep.
Question 3, it's a situational question. If you pull someone over and they're not as cooperative as you like, how would you handle that situation?
And quite often, young people and adults. So normally when I pull folks over, walk into the car, introduce myself, tell them who I am. And I always ask for the license and registration first. Reason being because I want to know who I'm dealing with and making sure they have the appropriate identification. I'm making sure this car they're not driving is a carjacked vehicle or stolen vehicle. Sometimes I have people that are uncooperative, sometimes they crack the window, which we just saw the incident not too long ago. People roll down the window and give me a whole bunch of lip service. Luckily, like I said, I have a body camera. So normally I try to, when I introduce myself, I tell them I have a body camera. 100% of the time people don't hear it. So I get to cursing me out, call me all sorts of names, and I shouldn't be doing this. And I said, let me remind you, this is being recorded with our body camera, which goes to the Saints Attorney. That normally de-escalates maybe 95% of the issues I've had. So since the body camera's been coming into effect for us, it has eliminated a lot of issues dealing with aggressive citizens or aggressive adversaries or people that have been pulled over. Because now the truth is here. And it also keeps us in check as officers. We're supposed to have it on. But normally when I deal with that, if they're so aggressive, I'll call for some backup. Or try to, some other officer may try to de-escalate it depending on the situation. If it comes to the point where, there's no de-escalation, we start to see there's more aggressions that they can become a danger to themselves. Or even drive, you see on YouTube, people start driving off, hit the officer, or running people off the road, they want to handle them accordingly to an escalation situation. But majority of the time, this body camera has de-escalated a lot of things with drivers, or even when I come in contact with other people, when they're cursing me out, saying things, and they're so vexed that they'll realize that they've been recorded, that when the playback comes back, they'll see how much wrong they were.
Exactly.
So this body camera has been very effective. I believe in it. A lot of officers that I work with believe in it. There are some people that don't want, not officers, but more citizens doesn't want to know now because it tells the truth. And I think it keeps the officers, the ones that are not following the rules, which is very few, keeps them in check. Because we hired them, we want them to do a job. We give them the liberty to take someone's life, the liberty to take their freedom. So we want you to guide people right. Our main goal is to protect and serve, because we don't want to arrest the world. We're not trying to shoot anyone. We want everyone to go home with a safe environment. What about when you go to home? You don't want to get carjacked, you don't want to get robbed. Our goal is to protect the community. And the only way we can protect the community is having you all work with us as we work with you. Because you all are our eyes and ears. So it's our goal to make sure we get to every meeting, every school, every situation, and handle it as if it was our family.
All right. Real informational. I heard a lot of things that I've never heard before. I think I probably gave you a certain outlook on how young people look at, certain situations that we have with police, encounters, all that stuff. Learned a lot.
I think the biggest thing I would like to try to encourage is young people, even if it's small groups, find some organization or find police officers that you may or may not know and that are willing to come help you. You don't have to be a group of 10, 15 people, maybe 4 or 5 of you, an officer that works at a church, an officer like myself that works at a community center. Have some long conversations, say, would you mind coming in? And have those questions asked. Go to those community meetings. And the people that you all now can elect as county council officials, county executives, challenge them, say, would you mind coming to the meeting so we can have this discussion? No one's giving you all the power to have that information. Now I give it to you. You give it to the young community. I empower you. I challenge you. Bring us to the table because you're the future. If you all bring us to the table and you don't force other officers and other adults to give you this information, you all will continue to be confused about information. Get accurate information. Become a productive citizen, get a good job if that's what you want to do, if you want to travel the world, get a home and plant the seed in the community that you're in and cultivate. You're the future, man. You're what's going to take care of me when I get older. And when I'm out of uniform, I'm a senior citizen walking around here, walking around watching your young kids do what you do. And so you have a family.
Any questions from the audience? Yeah.
Maryland State Police, who, like you said, the guy cracked the window a little bit. He was exerting his right. He kept his hands on the steering wheel, and apparently that officer took it upon himself to smash the window and to go into the car. So they tell you and know your rights that you don't have to crack the window but so much.
Right.
So could you just elaborate a little bit more? I know you said the first thing you do is ask for license and registration, but could you just elaborate a little bit more? Like, what is the culture? And our officers having sensitivity training to know that, more people are knowing their rights. My organization, do know your rights training, and we tell young people, you don't have to crack the window so much. So that's not being disrespectful or being insubordinate. That's just protecting myself because, unfortunately, we've had cases here in Prince George's County where officers roll your window down, and Prince George's County have a culture of grabbing the door and they're coming in or they're going in the window. So I'm just protecting myself. So could you just talk a little bit more about that crack window?
Okay, well I'm going to start off what I was explaining to him. I'm glad you asked that because a lot of people ask. This comes back to being a part of the community, bringing officers in because our general orders, what we call them general orders, but the rules and regulations we have to follow by, are free to the public. You can look at it.
Right.
And this is where if you would have known those information about what police departments can do, what rules and regulations we have to follow, it will help you a lot more. I wasn't on the scene. I can't elaborate on why he didn't roll it down. For me, we would have more negotiations, but you only see a piece of what the young man is videoing. If I was on the scene, you would saw this from start to finish.
Right.
We don't know if the guy had said something, the guy on the driver's side had said something, didn't say anything, but also we would have known what the violation was. You've seen on TV, YouTube, when people drive, they stop, they run off and drive over and hit people, or they drive off and drive erratically and back into traffic. I didn't say he was going to do that, or if he was doing that at first. But the officer, Maryland State Police, they have what is called a continuum, a use of force continuum.
Right.
Once a person has broken the law and is not being, not complying to a lawful order, that's where they kind of, move up the continuum. And I think that may have had happened. But this goes back to with you all, if you go to my meetings, talk to the police departments, find out where you can find out where our rules and regulations are. And I think that would have been a lot easier for the advocates that were, again, for that young man that was in the car, would have said, hey, you know what, this is what your rules and regulations say. Because in a court of law, we go by the facts and the laws. And I think that's what happened with young people, we don't get that information. Or you all don't get that information. So what happened was, seeing when he got the boy, broke the window out to the kid out the car, I'm assuring you that from what I can see, I'm quite certain he followed his rules and regulations. If he didn't, I can guarantee you their internal affairs and their superintendent is following through with strict and harsh, training, sensitivity training, and to make sure this officer followed through.
So even like with de-escalation, would it have been wise in de-escalation, especially in the climate and the landscape that we are in now,
Right.
and him being a Caucasian officer and the young man being a black, would it not been wise in de-escalate for him to go back to his cruiser and to call a supervisor? I think he may have asked for a supervisor, or asked for a white shirt or whatever, but
Right.
instead that's being seen as insubordinate. So it's hard to say, oh, just ask for a supervisor, but then when you say, can I get a supervisor, then you now have irritated an officer, and so now you are at a position where, oh my God, I might get shot and killed, or oh my God, I might
I
get
understand
hurt.
completely.
So it's like a catch-22. If I say, can I have an officer, a white shirt comes to the scene, or someone, then what? And you break the window anyway, and just say,
Well, in my eyes, and what I perceive, what I've seen, is that was someone I know, my son, it could have been you. And this is only a recommendation, you don't have to. The young man should have just given an ID, wrote the window down, let me see a supervisor. That way, because we don't know what laws he has broken and what has happened. That's one option you could have done, because when the supervisor came, the supervisor would have addressed it with the officer, hey, you did this, that, and the third, which created us to have a problem with cause of bullying. Secondly, if he didn't, he said, I'll keep my hands here. Please bring a supervisor right now. I'll roll the window down when the supervisor gets here. Because remember, the majority of the time when a police officer pulls you over, he or she must have probable cause to pull you over. And then moving forward, unfortunately, it happened a couple of weeks after the incident at the Walmart when those people got shot up in El Paso.
right.
So at that point, we're always hyper on alert because we don't know if this young man has a mental illness. We don't want to leave the car, go back to our car, and then he gives him an opportunity to grab any type of weapon to not only take out the officer, but maybe someone else. So we are in a catch-22. Society has to be cautious. We have to be more cautious because we have to protect you. Not it doesn't parallel to what the young man now rolling down his window to what happened in El Paso by no means. But we don't have to be cautious then. We have to be cautious because let me ask you this question: to the things that we deal with, to the situations in the world today, just in the United States, if you was an officer, how would you have felt? If you were an officer, and I'm not saying he did what was right, you probably would have done some things a little different. But we're trained to make sure if this person is here, it can be a possible threat. We have to keep our eyes on him or her.
I understand that point, but I'm the criminal justice chair of Prince George's County NAACP, and right now I have 4 police brutality cases. One man just fell asleep in the back of a car for being he was black, woke up with a broken nose in 4 different places by 2 officers. We had the Kevin Sneed case where he was pulled over and targeted and almost terrorized. And pulled out of his car and beaten and then charged with attempted murder on a police officer. And that's the common trend. So I understand where you're coming from, but me as an advocate and as a person who's in the courthouse day after day and dealing with these African American young men who are petrified of the police, because they don't know whether or not, and they go into fight and flight mode too.
Right. This is the meat and potatoes what you're asking, because we do need to get more sensitivity training. I know for a fact what Prince George's County Police, Maryland Park Police, a lot of agencies in the state of Maryland are receiving it. But unfortunately, just like you and I know, receiving it from each officer, and they receive it, but how they get it back is always a question. For the majority part of each police department, 90% of the officers are doing what they're supposed to do. The other 5% are getting that training. And that last 5% is just like anything else in the world. You can't call it. That's where we have the internal affairs. That's when we have you. We have me. That we speak out. Just like you heard me tell them, this a police brutality going on in front of me is not going to happen. I'm going to stop. Because once again, I wear this uniform because they selected me. They gave me this job to do the job that I'm supposed to do, protect and serve. Give to the community the exact same way I would want it done. Just like you said, you're in a courthouse, you're dealing with these brutality cases. And the biggest thing is, like you hear me telling them, we got to educate our people. We have to educate this young man and other young people. Know the laws. Not only knowing the laws, but knowing the locations. Knowing what's going on, so that way when they interact with these officers and these things happen, sometimes you're right, they may fight or flight. You heard me tell him, you don't have to speak right away. Stay right there, hands up, let me speak to a supervisor. These are things that they don't know because they begin to watch TV and all these social medias thinking that, well, if I react this way, it'll change or people look at me. We don't want to get them. We don't want to be. I'm not advocating what the officers did or what the young man did because I wasn't a part of that. I'm quite certain it's going to get done and get to the bottom of it. But those things could have probably been avoided or handled differently. But from moving point to this point, what you're telling me, that's serious. And I tell you what, even with our department, our chief, I know we're Prince George's County because we work hand in hand. Officers are individuals, but I know the officers I work with, when we're out there, we're given this information. We're given knowledge. Just like what you're saying, just like he's saying, he was at the community center. He sees it there. You'll see, I'm not saying that we're not there, but we're given information when we're there. When we interact with officers, citizens, we got our body cameras on. I assure you, with our department, our internal affairs is 100%. You must have your body camera on.
But that's not a Prince George's County issue. That's a park police.
Yeah, and that's.
But Prince George's County has yet to adopt
And what I said.
that rule.
And that-
Chief Hank has not gotten there yet.
Yeah, he's working on it. Unfortunately, this is where him and the rest of these citizens come in. Go to community meetings. Make that demand for it. This is their county. Because Chief Hank Sawinski is listening. He's listening, but he also needs the citizen and the police department to work together. Because sometimes it's finances. Sometimes we got to find out what the root of it is. So when you're in the courthouse, well, why don't we have it? And I can promise you, the right agencies, the chiefs from all these agencies will come out and speak to you. But just like budgetary constraints, everyone said we don't have it. So let's go ahead and make it happen. What can you all do? And what can we do as an agency? And we need to come together for that. Because I'm not negating what you're saying. Because you see it, you're firsthand. And like I said, I can assure you, there are a lot of people that are advocates of making sure this don't happen. Because like I said before, I'm a father. And I worry about every young man I pull over. I don't care how much of an attitude he has with me, how much he doesn't like the police. Normally after our conversation, it ends up being like, you know what, Officer Calvin, you okay. I don't like the police, but you're okay. And I can deal with that. But I said, it's not just me. It's how we interact. Just like your fire, your desire, you're willing to make sure it goes right, just like him. This is what we need to see at the community meetings. This is where you see the officers that are doing the right things, the leaders that are there. What can we do as community and law enforcement and politicians? But then guess what? We don't get into the community meetings. So that's what you're doing. I empower you. I challenge you. Because we can move forward as a group, police departments, the court system to young people. This is a movement that we can easily come together and then we not only remove the stigma about police officers or young black males or young black females, but we can make a movement forward. We can start now move forward, but we don't have conversations. What you just set up here and bring it up to community meetings make a world of difference. They listen. And guess what? When we know rules and regulations, can't stop you, not at all. You know that. Knowledge is power. And people become threatened on both sides when they have knowledge.
Absolutely. One thing you did say, this I'm going to be done, because I'm teaching them about policy. I actually take my children up to, my kids and others up to Annapolis.
Good.
And we're learning about the laws, treating kids like kids. You said something about the body cameras, the fact that it goes straight to the state's attorney's office. That's a key point, because you can have the body cameras and they can be in-house. So your footage does not go to your office, it goes directly to the state's attorney's office?
So what happens is, it'll go to our thing with a server, as they say, and make sure that it's downloaded correctly and it's housed in a server where it's there. And then as soon as the state's attorney has it, because the state's attorney can't hold everything.
Okay.
So if we don't alter anything,
Okay.
that nobody without a captain who runs it does not alter anything. So basically goes to a server, readily available for when the state's attorney summons it. So unfortunately, we don't have that type of means anywhere that we don't, But ours, so it's recorded here, it downloads it to our server, it stays there, no one touches it. Only people that has access to it is the IT guy to remove the footage and send it straight to the state's attorney when they summons it. So eventually, as you know, it comes down to it, and I'm quite sure other agencies will adopt the same program we have. Everyone will have it. That will eliminate all this craziness that you all experience and the craziness that we experience. Because sometimes as officers, like you said, the other officers did what they did to young man, and I don't know exactly what happened, but officers that are being ambushed, officers that are being killed, that have families for no reason. Those things happen. Officers that are being jumped, officers that are being assaulted for just maybe doing the right thing or trying to help, and it happens. So it's on both sides. We hurt just like everyone else hurts there too. All the officers that may stop off at night just to help somebody, they have an injured issue or some type of issue going on. Now, poor people sometimes when I go home because they're tired coming from work, And I don't just say, "Oh, you're drunk." Hey, what can happen? And sometimes the officers like myself, but not me, have been struck on the roadway because they tried to help someone. You know, just remember, it's both sides. We all hurt.
So all the officers in Maryland now know that marijuana smell is no longer, okay,
Yes.
announcement, public service announcement.
Oh, so
It's
it's-
no longer. So we will be letting our people know that it is no longer a reason to search the car. That's no longer probable cause, right?
Yeah, I saw that there. It came up the other day. I saw
Okay,
that.
it came out, it actually came out on Monday. We were in Ocean City when my son, they searched my son's car. That was on a Saturday. When I came back on Monday, even the officer said it was because, oh, we smell marijuana.
Right.
And so when I came home on Monday, I saw it was released that it's no longer. So can you just talk about like, so you said the continuum of force, and now what reasons would an officer have now to say, in the state of Maryland, that they want to search your car?
Right. Well, I can't for every stop.
Warrantlessly.
Huh?
Warrantlessly, without a
Right.
warrant.
Normally for every stop that we pull, let me speak about me. I can't say for every officer. Normally, if I pull someone over, if I pull you over, you're cooperative, have everything, and let's say you smell marijuana in the car now. You know, we understand how it happens. If you maybe make aggressive, movement, or you just kind of, because people they get emotional, but you start doing this, or people look and get nervous, or they just get anxious. That creates us to say, hey, maybe he's hiding something. So we can search the glove compartment, or any places where you can still lunch food. That is what is legal still. So from that being
Without the smell of marijuana.
without the smell of marijuana. So don't forget, like I just told you, people get nervous. So as you're sitting here calmly, the same thing they get pulled over. Ask the officer's name. Not only you say, hey, what's your ID? After he or she, like I told you, I operate. Once I take your ID, your license registration, once I take your registration, your ID, then I know I say, okay, let's find out what's going on. This is why I pulled you over. This is what's going on. And it doesn't happen that way all the time. Try to be cooperative, give them that. But don't give us the issue if you're looking like you're doing this or you're moving around. That may be a position where you can lunge to something. You can lunge to anything. We know that things have happened. Not saying you, but we don't know what the officer's experiences has been, just like the officer doesn't know what your experiences has been with the police. So this is where it comes back to community talk. Everything you're saying here, because then when you share this with politicians and other officers, this is when we can spread that information. So let's say you join the police department. You join the police department, you're in training. Now we're going to say, hey, look, now you have this information. Let's make sure when you deal with people in the street, you treat them the exact same way you want to be treated. They're not hearing, just like the young people are not hearing what I'm saying. See, but we thought that they had this information, we don't teach them that. But once they have that, then they know how to operate differently. Just the tools I've given him already, now he has options. Remember, young people never had options before. We never shared this information. But then again, they never asked. So it's a breakdown in communication from both sides. And it's something that it didn't mean to happen, it just happened. When I got on this as a parent, I promised myself, you're going to know information. There are a lot of police officers, not only here, but other places, that want you to have the information. They want you to be empowered. So this way you know your rights. Just like the young man said, you say they're dealing with that, they need to be empowered with information.
You asked me about their
I was going to ask you that.
Yeah, that's it.
How did you forget? You too. Oh, all y'all.
We just had a discussion about it off camera.
Yeah, we did.
My only thing is, so dirt bikes, as we know, is a hobby that most African American males, my son has been riding dirt bikes since he was 6 years old, right? I bought it from the store in Laurel, I forgot, she cycles, whatever it was
Yeah,
called, bought her, whatever. I bought the dirt bike, all these dirt bikes have been bought and paid for by myself.
Right.
But you go down to DC or you go, downtown Silver Spring, and you have mopeds, you have Segways, you have scooters that go almost 25 miles an hour that come out the way and almost hit me. And they don't have any laws, they don't have any real regulations, they don't have to wear helmets, they just have to put their credit card number in and go. So the criminalization of behaviors of minorities is a real thing. So, what can you tell us a little bit more about, because it's like a unity for them, it's a brotherhood, for them, dirt bike riders. But unfortunately, you can buy them, it's legal to buy them here in the state of Maryland and Prince George's County, but it's illegal for them to ride it. And can you just talk a little bit about, is there anything that your office is doing in particular as far as, I know you're not supposed to chase, there's no chase policy in the state of Maryland, but that's happening too. So can you just talk a little bit about how you feel, that the scooters are all over the place, these mountain bikes, all these things are in and out of traffic, but you got a dirt bike on the side of the road, it's a problem.
Right. Well, let me start. I ride bicycles. I ride motorcycles. So the problems that we're having. Let me start back to the scooters, and this is just something that just it's evolved, and they're trying to figure out a way to address it because we never thought that you would use a credit card to get a scooter or a bicycle, and then now you have electric bikes. So that I don't understand. I know the government is trying to look at it, but that comes back to you and I and the rest of us as citizens here. How we're going to deal with this because this is what we pay taxes for. And hold out our politicians accountable. Give them some ideas. Don't just hold them and say, what are you going to do? What can we do to be an advocate for it? But for dirt bikes, four-wheelers, the problem that's happening is, yes, you buy it, get it from the store, but they're not licensed. This is something that goes several miles per hour. That can be dangerous. That can kill themselves. They're not wearing helmets. In the state of Maryland, you must wear a helmet to ride any motorcycle. You must. So that's your first violation. Secondly, we take a test to drive on the road, pain insurance. These guys ride dirt bikes and four-wheelers. Don't do any of that.
Yeah, the scooter riders and segways.
The scooter riders and segway doesn't go, 50 miles per hour plus.
They go about 25. It's pretty fast downtown DC with potholes.
Yeah, DC has they have a different element. I'm quite certain, the mayor is working on some things, but the dirt bikes and motorcycles, the dirt bikes and four-wheelers, they go very fast. They're very dangerous. They hurt not only themselves but other people. People trying to get home through traffic, they're weaving in and out under red lights, they're breaking all sorts of traffic laws. So, I know they've been thinking about trying to find, community people, some, politicians, law enforcement that's spoken about it. Maybe someone can invest in a motorcycle park.
The Animal Mall has been shut down for the last 15 years.
That's something that we definitely, talk with the county council, because that's land that's there. But when you have 50 dirt bikes and motorcycles, taking up the beltway and stopping traffic for people trying to get to work, maybe a woman pregnant trying to get somewhere, where do we draw the line?
When the skateboard riders were doing it, they go through skateboard parks. All I'm saying is, like you said, it's community, and we have to change our way of thinking and the culture and the learning that the criminalization of behaviors primarily, and this is what we're studying, of African Americans, because if it was a white kid riding a skateboard, they would develop a skateboard park. So because it's black kids, it's just lock them up, throw away the key, and we'll figure out, they'll give them a record, and who cares whether or not, who cares about their hobby, who cares if that's what they love to do, who cares if that's what draws them together and keeps them out of the streets, who cares about that? Now let's provide a outlet for them. There's a dirt bike park in Charles County, Buzz Creek, but I just feel like, we have to be more cognizant of our African American, especially our African American males. And I think we have to step up a little bit more. I know we always say, well, you guys need to do this, you need to do that, but I think we also need to.
Well, with you saying that, you sound a strong advocate for it. I'd empower you and challenge you to take these young group of men that are doing that, even if it's 5 or 10. But let's get a meeting together, call law enforcement, call the chief, and call the superintendent for state police, call the county executive. Bring them to the table with these guys that are riding. No one's ever done it. Let's empower these young people. Because just like the 50s, 60s, and 70s, where we grew together, banded together as a group, we sat down and sat, and when they made us go to the back door, we sat down. So the bus, we all boycotted the bus. We have to teach them unity. They don't know. If we did that, or what you're talking about, you want the numbers articulate, and speak to them, and giving them that information, I think they will be moving. No one's empowered them. No one's grabbing all these motorcycle riders out here. So you know what? With the heat that you're bringing, articulation, and have them speak just as well. I think you have some movement. You have some discussions. I haven't seen nothing on the media. I haven't seen nothing with the politicians. I haven't seen anything with the community. I'm not even going to put on the politicians and law enforcement. You all want this, bring it to us. Make us come to the table. Because we have great people here. Like I said, the chiefs that I know personally, the one I work for, they're community. You see that. Our chief is out there, Chief Stanley Johnson, he's out there in the community. He talks, he speaks to everyone. Just as well as, Chief Prince George's County Police. He has Chief on the door. No one meets him over there. Say the exact same question you have. Hey, what are we doing about this? What can you do? What can we do? Because it's not just you, it's we. Because ultimately, we're all in it together. When you ride that motorcycle, you heard me earlier. I told you, just what I said, I saw those guys, they went, oh, okay, Officer Calvin. I'm not gonna chase a motorcycle, because y'all don't have helmets on. We have no chase policy, but I know these young men, they don't have nothing else to do, and sometimes they just don't know. They don't even know the laws. They don't even know about the no helmet laws. So if they at least get educated by us, as well as them coming to us and say, hey, look, we need somewhere to go. Or why are you guys chasing us? No one's ever asked.